Are you overpaying for your cruise? Uncover hidden costs. Hello, dear. You booked the cruise, you paid for the drink package, and you even prepaid your gratuities. You're covered, right? Not exactly. Here's the truth. Cruise gratuities in 2026 have gotten trickier and more expensive than ever. What used to be a flat daily fee is now part of a much murkier system of hidden service charges, stacked tips, and included packages that still leave you tipping more than you planned. Most people board their ship thinking they're being generous. After all, you want to reward good service, and cruise workers deserve it. But somewhere between the bar tab, spa appointment, and steakhouse dinner, that $16 per day turns into $1.25, then $1.30, and sometimes even more. And the worst part? You might be tipping twice for the exact same service, or leaving tips on top of built-in charges without even realizing it. In this video, we're breaking down the 5 most common gratuity traps that cruise lines don't go out of their way to explain. From surprise fees at the spa to the sneaky double-dipping on drink receipts, we're going to show you exactly how to protect your wallet without shortchanging the people who actually deserve your gratitude. But first, subscribe is free. By the end of this, you'll know what's fair, what's optional, and what you should absolutely watch out for. Most people forget tip trap number 3, and it could save you more than any coupon ever will. Let's get into it, and start with the place where double tipping happens more than anywhere else on the ship, the bar. This is the most common cruise gratuity trap, and most passengers don't even realize they're falling into it. You order a drink at the bar. The bartender swipes your card, hands you a receipt, and you see a line at the bottom labeled tip. You think, sure, I'll leave a couple bucks. Why not? But what you didn't notice is the line just above that, the one that says gratuity 18%, already added to your total automatically. So what has happened? You tipped twice. Once because the cruise line already baked it into your check, and again because the receipt layout made it look like nothing had been added. This happens hundreds of times a day across every major cruise line. And while a few include a small note in the fine print, they rarely explain it clearly to guests, especially at bars or poolside drink stands. Now, let's be clear, this isn't about being stingy. Bartenders work hard and deserve every bit of recognition. But the system is designed to create confusion, and many guests leave an extra 15% to 20% on top of a charge that's already been paid. If you're on a drink package, it gets even murkier. Most cruise lines charge a daily service fee, usually 18% to 20%, based on the full price of the drink package. That means every drink you order has already been tipped before you even get on the ship. Cruise veteran tip: check every drink receipt before you write anything. If it says gratuity included, you don't need to add more unless the service really stood out. If it doesn't say anything, ask. Crew members will usually tell you if gratuity has already been added. Otherwise, you could end up tipping $2 to $4 extra per drink without meaning to, and over a 7-day cruise. That adds up fast. Let's move on to another sneaky one: the included gratuities that aren't really included. Cruise lines love to advertise all-inclusive packages, drink bundles, suite perks, specialty dining deals, and many of them come with the promise that gratuities are included. But what they don't always say is, not all gratuities are covered. Let's start with drink packages. You might see tips included in the description, but that usually means the daily service charge has been prepaid. Not that every bar interaction is tip-free. Some passengers still get receipts with blank tip lines, especially at pool bars or lounges. And in some cases, crews still expect, or gently suggest, an extra tip on top. It gets even trickier with specialty dining. You might pay a flat fee for a steakhouse dinner or sushi experience, and think that includes everything. But check your receipt afterward. Many restaurants add a service charge automatically and still leave the tip line open. Once again, you might be tipping double. Now let's talk suites. Some cruise lines offer concierge or butler service as part of your upgraded room. But here's the fine print. While those room charges might cover standard gratuities, butler tips are often not included. In fact, many cruise lines suggest a cash tip of $10 to $20 per day per guest, a surprise for many travelers who thought they'd paid everything up front. One couple shared online that they upgraded to a premium suite thinking it was fully all-inclusive. By the end of the trip, they'd spent an extra $300 on surprise gratuities that showed up one receipt at a time. Drinks, dinners, even coffee bar charges. The solution? Don't assume included means everything. Ask specific questions. Is there a service charge? Is tipping optional? Are butler or concierge tips extra? These packages can offer great value. But if you don't know the gratuity policy inside and out, you might end up paying more than you bargained for. Almost every major cruise line charges a daily automatic gratuity, usually between $16 and $20 per person per day. It's meant to fairly compensate the housekeeping staff, dining room servers, and other behind-the-scenes crew members. And in most cases, it's completely fair. But what cruise lines don't tell you is this: you can change it, raise it, lower it, or even remove it entirely if you go to guest services and ask. Now, is that encouraged? Not at all. Most cruise lines bury this policy in the fine print of their websites. It's rarely mentioned during booking, and on board, crew won't bring it up. You'll see the daily gratuity amount listed on your folio, but unless you know your rights, it just looks like a non-negotiable charge. But here's the catch: you're not forced to pay it. Cruise lines leave the option open because gratuities aren't technically a tax or government fee. They're still a form of suggested tipping, and that means passengers have a choice. Some passengers reduce the amount if they feel the service didn't meet expectations. Others remove it entirely and choose to hand out cash tips personally to crew members who went above and beyond. One longtime cruiser told me he always visits guest services on the last night and adjusts the gratuity total based on his experience, then personally hands envelopes to his room steward and favorite dining staff. It's more work, sure, but also more direct and more transparent. Now, to be clear, we're not saying you shouldn't tip, but you should know how the system works. If you prepay your gratuities and end up tipping extra at restaurants, bars, and lounges, you might be double paying without meaning to. So if you've had amazing service, feel free to add more. It's appreciated. But if something didn't quite land, or you'd rather control how your tips are distributed, don't be afraid to stop by guest services and make a change. There's nothing wrong with booking a massage or a facial while you're cruising. In fact, it's one of the most popular ways to relax on sea days. But here's the catch: cruise ship spas are one of the worst offenders when it comes to hidden gratuity traps. When you book a spa treatment, the price might say $159 for a 50-minute massage. Sounds steep, but manageable. What most passengers don't see is the automatic 18% to 20% gratuity that's added at the time of service. That brings your total closer to $190 before you've even reached the tip line on your receipt. And yes, the tip line is still there, even after the automatic charge. Many spa staff are trained to gently push for additional tipping. You'll hear things like, "Did you enjoy your massage today?" Or, "You can leave something extra for your therapist here." And because the receipt makes it look like no tip has been added, a lot of passengers throw in another $20 without realizing they've already tipped nearly that much in the built-in charge. It's especially confusing because spa staff often work under Steiner, a third-party company that runs most cruise spas, and their pay structures can vary. Some are on commission, some rely heavily on gratuities, and some are encouraged to upsell products after your treatment, which creates a bit of pressure on both sides. One first-time cruiser reported paying over $400 for 2 treatments, only to realize later that $72 of that total was gratuity. And she still left $30 in cash because she thought she hadn't tipped yet. How do you avoid this trap? When you book the appointment, ask up front if a service charge is included. Then check your receipt before leaving an extra tip. If you had an amazing experience and want to tip more, great. But at least you'll know where your money is going. You've booked a specialty dining reservation. Maybe it's the steakhouse, sushi bar, or a high-end French bistro on board. You paid $45 per person for the experience, and the cruise line called it all-inclusive. So you sit down, enjoy an amazing meal, and think, that was worth it. But when the bill arrives, you see it, an added service charge, usually 18% or more. And right below that, a blank line for additional tip. This is one of the most quietly frustrating gratuity traps because it hits travelers who think they've already paid a premium for better food and service. And the restaurant never says a word about the built-in fee unless you ask. Even worse, some lines don't show the added service fee clearly. It gets buried in your onboard account summary, not the receipt. So if you leave $10 or $15 on the table thinking you haven't tipped, that could easily be your second tip of the night. Here's how this plays out. You pay $45 for the reservation, an automatic $8 gratuity is added, and you leave another $10 because the food was great. You just tipped $18, nearly 40% of your original dining cost, without realizing it. It's especially tricky when dining packages are involved. When you use one of your included nights as specialty restaurant, the gratuity often isn't covered in the package price. It gets tacked on afterward. Some cruise lines make this clear in the fine print. Others don't. And just like the spa, servers are often trained to leave space for you to reward exceptional service, even if that service was already included. Again, if the service was amazing, go ahead and tip extra. But just know it's already been charged before you do. Best practice? Ask your server at the start of the meal, are gratuities included with this reservation? That one question could save you from paying more than you meant to and help you avoid the awkward moment of wondering if you tipped enough or way too much. Cruise gratuities aren't a bad thing. In fact, they're a core part of how hardworking crew members get fairly compensated. But what's changed in 2026 is how confusing tipping has become and how easy it is to overpay without meaning to. Between automatic service charges, blank tip lines, included packages that still sneak in extra fees, and spa treatments that quietly add 20%, it's not uncommon for a cruiser to spend hundreds more than they expected, just in gratuities. And none of it is clearly explained. That's the problem. Here's the truth. You can still tip generously and fairly without falling into these traps. So yeah, tell me in the comments your experience about it. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos. See you.